welcome to another episode of the Icons Edit. I'm here with one of my favorite people. Nole Marin is back.
Thank you.
And I had to have Nole for this podcast because I've been wanting to talk about this subject for ages.
Yes.
Because since I was a very tiny little girl, I've been completely obsessed with them. The supermodels, the original 1990s supermodels, which for me is when I developed the idea for this podcast, that was one of the drivers.
Really?
Because I was so obsessed with the supermodels.
That was an era that was beyond gorgeous. It was beautiful. It was glamorous. It was elegant. It was so special. And honestly, I really miss it because right now we're definitely not in that era at all.
Well, that's one of my questions for you is we're in a completely different era now.
We're on a completely different planet besides era.
What year do you think it kind of started?
I think it started probably around 86, something
right,
like
late
that.
80s.
Late 80s it really started. And it really was that bang of those, 4 to 6 girls. It was Linda Evangelista, it was Christy Turlington, it was Naomi Campbell, and
Cindy Crawford. Yes.
Cindy Crawford, right. And then there was also Tatiana Patisse.
Well, Tatiana Patisse was actually one of the original 5.
On the
but
cover,
she's very
correct.
rarely mentioned, which has always bothered me. She passed away last year, I think it was.
Very sad.
So sad.
Yes, so sad.
She was one of what is classed as the original 5 supermodels.
On the cover of Vogue,
absolutely. And the George Michael video, we'll talk about that in a bit because that's the best part. But it's weird to me, why do you think Tatiana didn't... Tatiana? Why do you think Tatiana didn't...
I think her beauty was extremely exotic. And, it's all about personality. And, Cindy had a great personality. Naomi had her wild and wonderful personality. Christy had her kind of sweet personality. And then Linda had her personality. I think Tatiana's personality maybe wasn't as rambunctious as those other girls. So she may have slipped through. And then, of course, there was Claudia Schiffer, who came as a German blonde
And she
sensation.
Definitely would also be put into a top 6
Absolutely.
of top supermodels.
Well, at the time, it was Cindy Crawford, #1 moneymaker, and then it was Claudia Schiffer right underneath her.
Wow.
So she definitely was a top model.
Because didn't Claudia have more front covers than anybody else? There's some stats on that, I think.
Claudia was one of the highest paid models right underneath, Cindy, like I said. And she probably did have some record of the most covers on one of the magazines.
She was extremely desirable. You see, I never loved Cindy Crawford. This is very controversial.
Really?
I just didn't because I think I couldn't identify with her. I'm small, blonde,
Are you?
blue eyes. You know what I mean? And she was this Amazonian, gorgeous, skinny but voluptuous model with
very voluptuous.
Beautiful hair. And of course, that's not a beauty I can achieve. You know what I mean? And
yes,
so I think that's nice of you to say. But I feel like she was always wow, just wow. And she was also the wholesome American girl.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's how she made the money, is because she sort of commercialized that idea of
She was a genius. I mean, her mind, she was such a businesswoman behind closed doors that was incredible. But you know that I had the pleasure of working for a year and a half with, Claudia Schiffer.
And I want to talk to you about this because that's why I wanted you to do this podcast, because I can talk about how much I love them and how much I remember this, but I don't know them. You actually worked with Claudia for a long time.
A year and a half, yeah.
That's a long time in this business.
It is, you're right. And my good friend Grazio Venditti worked with her for many years before and after. I mean, Claudia, when I first met her, I remember, I'm not going to lie to you, she was not one of my favorite girls. But when I met her for our first fitting and she stood up out of the chair and walked over to me, I was gobsmacked. I mean, This woman was a glamazon. She was a living Barbie to me. I was like, wow, this woman.
So in real life,
she was more stunning.
Insane.
She was way more stunning in person. She resonated, in the camera lens, but in person, she really was super spectacular beyond. And, she was very, very normal. She did not have this supermodel chip on her shoulder. She was very casual. She was extremely private with her private life and her privacy. Right. But she was very much a businesswoman also. So those women knew what they were doing. These girls were not just trying to be pretty girls, trying to get, famous. They were 100% money-making businesswomen.
I mean, do you think that, though, that being said, that Claudia would be successful in the current era, because now you have to expose your entire life to be famous, to be really rich and successful.
Right.
Pretty much have to throw it all out there.
If she would, I think, not to be rude, any of those girls would not, maybe Naomi, but I think the majority of those girls would never really have the fame that they would have today.
Yeah.
It's a total different, style of model. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be on social media every single day, letting
Absolutely.
everything known about who you are. And the money is completely different. Social media people do make a lot of money, but they made a lot of money too. It's just a whole different ballgame. You know, social media has taken over so big, but it's a whole different kind of beauty, a more accessible beauty.
Yep.
And Claudia's beauty was a little bit more extraordinary
Well, I think
at the
that's the
time,
thing.
I hate to say.
Yeah, like I was saying when I was talking about Cindy, they were all so inaccessible in that sense. It's like, who looked like these women?
Right.
You know, I never loved Linda at the time, which is weird because now when I look back,
right,
that woman had the face.
She had such an incredible face. It was such an interesting sculptural, you know, magic face, and her nose was awesome, and the way she changed her hair. But she was an incredible model. She knew how to make things come to life. She made the garments come to life. She inspired photographers. You know, these days you don't have to do that because everyone just has their cell phone or they have their little camcorder or whatever they're recording on these days. And, you know, it's a whole different story. It's about lighting and just looking good and trying to sell a story.
That's right. And it's a day and night different era, completely day and night different. But like Linda, of course, we couldn't not mention I believe this is one of the things that created the supermodel phenomenon when she said that very famous line.
She doesn't get out of bed for $10,000 a day?
No, yeah.
Or something.
Yeah. I don't get out of bed for less than $10,000. I've said that in my life before, just for the crack, because it's like, isn't that fabulous that a woman in that era, because women still, you know, were repressed by the patriarchy to some degree, you know, we're still not in a feminist era, but this woman stands up and she's like, I don't get out of bed. And I think she says now she was joking.
She was joking.
But I don't know how much she was joking.
I think it was 50-50. There was things that she would do, of course, for less than $10,000. But when it came to the high-powered campaign jobs and, you know, advertising jobs, it was definitely 10,000 plus a day, if not way more.
Well, I mean, what she would earn now would be a lot more than that. So, like, you know, that 10,000 wouldn't even sound shocking now to somebody, because most influencers are being paid way more than that for putting a post on Instagram.
It's insane.
But at the time, she was kind of, I mean, she was really kind of vilified for it in the media.
Wouldn't it be cool if an influencer said something like that these days and see what would happen?
I know.
That would be so interesting.
Like there's so many of them that it's almost like...
How many are there?
Influencers.
Yeah.
They're like ants. They're everywhere.
I don't even know. I mean, there's so many. I don't even know. You walk down Soho and everyone is, you know, taping and filming, and they're like, oh, they're a famous influencer. I'm like, I've never seen them in my life.
Well, this is what's interesting, isn't it? There could only be those top 6 supermodels because there was only them that had the cachet, that had the looks, that had the gravitas that you needed. Anyone can be an influencer.
Correct.
Anyone. And I there's a lot of people that I could mention online that I'm like, how has this person got 16 million followers? You know, like your average Joe who's just obnoxious, and you're listening to them, you're like, oh my God, you know how much money they're earning. And then you think, influencing really is achievable if you put enough time and effort into it. You have the right approach. It's kind of achievable.
Right.
You couldn't be a supermodel. No, you
either
were or you weren't.
That's a born gift.
Yeah.
It's your facial structure. It's your body. It's just your natural beauty that your parents gave you. You know, I call them the aliens of beauty because they were beautiful people. They looked something like their family, but they were like the alien versions of them. They were a little taller. Their eyes were a little bigger, a little bit far apart. Yeah. Something odd about them that made them just even more beautiful than what
it's when the camera captured it.
The way the camera captured them.
Like you have worked with models for years. There's 2 camps for me with models. There were the ones that were as plain as anything in real life. And the second you got a camera on them, magic. And then there were the ones that were stunning in real life, like drop dead gorgeous, and less so on camera. Right. Did you ever find that
That's
too?
the photogenic. Like, I think Claudia Schiffer in person was absolutely stunning. Yeah. Like, just beyond gorgeous. And the camera didn't really capture all of that beauty.
Right.
And then you would see someone like a Cindy, and if you saw her in person, I mean, I remember her head always being a little bit small, I felt.
Interesting,
and that's why she saw her hair so big to kind of counteract.
Because you always think about the big hair, don't you?
And she was kind of almost kind of boyish or very plain, but as soon as you made her up, she was absolutely glamorous and gorgeous. And there was a lot of the other girls, even like one of my favorite models of all time, you know, Christy Turlington.
She's my favorite.
A very interesting beauty without the makeup, but as soon as that makeup was on, she was like, wow, like such a spectacular beauty.
She was my favorite, I will say. She was always my favorite, but because I felt like she was there was something that was a little bit more attainable about her. You know what I mean?
Which one, Christy?
Christy,
Oh
yeah.
my God, her features were so exotically gorgeous. I thought she was so unattainable.
I think in my head it was because she just seemed like, maybe it was just more her personality that seemed
She was
more
very sweet, more or less.
average, everyday girl that you could actually, like when you get a Naomi Campbell, for example.
Oh,
I mean,
diva from day one, baby.
Diva.
Diva.
I mean, you wouldn't want to fuck with Naomi, would you?
You didn't want to have a cell phone back in the day with her, right? No.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, she really did. She probably would be successful now because I think she knows how to play the fame game.
And out of all of those models, I think she is the one who's basically had the longest, most successful career because she's still working and walking some of the top shows, maybe even more than one per season. So she really is like, when you think of like the mother of supermodels, I think we may have to give it up to, Naomi Campbell's now. And
a black woman.
Love it.
And I think she was before Tyra, wasn't she? So she was the first black woman to smash it wide open and to just be so
Beverly
successful.
Johnson, there's Naomi Sims, there was a lot of others.
But Naomi was the first.
She was the first real commercial superstar successful.
Naomi, I mean, she's not a very likable person to the public from what we see of her. Did you ever meet Naomi?
You know what? I met her multiple times backstage at a few of the Victoria's Secret fashion shows, Fashion Cafe, but I could never say I really met her.
Yeah, I know that. I know that. It's like you said hi, whatever, but you don't get to know them.
Sometimes I didn't even say hello, just see her in passing.
Yeah, I think she's is she beautiful in real life?
Oh, she's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
And she hasn't aged a freaking day. She still looks
whatever
the
she's
same.
doing, she looks amazing. She's well preserved.
Yeah, and she interested me because she had kids by surrogate, I believe. Quite late in life. I think she was nearly 50, I want to say, when she had them.
I think you're correct.
Maybe more than 50.
I think late 40s.
And that really surprised me because I did not see that journey for her.
You didn't see her being the mother.
No.
The motherly kind of woman. But I think she's probably an amazing mom.
Oh, I'm sure she is.
I'm sure she takes care of her kids. I'm sure she's extremely proud of them. I think she's had an incredible journey. She was very close with her mother, as we all know.
Absolutely.
And I think she is a little bit more private with her kids. You never really see them.
You don't see them. I didn't even know that it happened until I watched the documentary that came out, which of course, brought the supermodels back to a younger audience that probably didn't appreciate or understand how incredible this era was.
Well, to diverse a little bit in this conversation, when I was working with Claudia Schiffer, these were the superstars of the time. They were all over these things called magazines. We had magazines, we had major campaigns, and inside these campaigns were inside the magazines were these incredible layouts of the campaigns. The magazines, once we lost the magazines, we started losing these majorly big campaigns that we really love to see, from beauty ads to the fashion ads to everything.
Yes.
And these women were all over everything. Then the celebrities kind of started to filter in and become on the cover. Then from the cover, they went to the fashion campaigns. From the fashion campaigns, they went to the beauty ads.
But all of a sudden, you've got Victoria Beckham and Kim Kardashian walking runways.
And exactly.
Which is, for me, I'm like, no, don't mix these things up. A supermodel needs to, I'm sorry, it's political, but I think models should be tall and thin. I feel like it should be unattainable.
I agree.
I don't think everybody should be, I'm sorry, it's such a popular opinion.
Not everyone knows how to, bake cookies. Not everyone knows how to drive a bus. I think everyone has their own gift in life.
Yeah.
And I think everyone has their own special needs and special tasks that they can really conquer the world with. And these supermodels during that time were incredible. And
they were celebrities themselves in some respect,
but
just not celebrity as we know them now. Now we know celebrities because we went into the 2000s after that, which we were talking about yesterday, me and Julian on the podcast, which was this huge celebrity culture where models were out, celebrities were in, and it was the end of the supermodel era. It's where it just
so sad.
It ended it,
right?
Because all of a sudden magazines went out too, because social media came in, the internet became a thing, and then all of a sudden those big beautiful magazines that I used to pore over and look at my fashion magazines and just dream of looking like that and wearing that.
I was coming here today and I was like, I was trying to think, what was the last beauty campaign that I really remember? And I don't really remember that, because I used to look at them inside the magazine. It was the Revlon, and they had like remember they had it was like all the girls together, all the beautiful girls in groupings. And then there was like Estee Lauder, and then they had celebrities in Estee Lauder, but we don't really have magazines really gave us so many beautiful visual pictures, but now we're on the internet and it's like every minute there's something new.
Well,
so it's insane.
Let's talk about Calvin Klein then,
Oh
because
gosh.
Calvin Klein
Wow.
was also extremely instrumental in this the explosion of the
Of
supermodel.
course, with Brooke Shields starting back then.
Right. And then Christy became the face of eternity, and that was her big thing. She was perfect for that.
And even Kate Moss was CK,
well,
which broke her
I mean,
tremendously.
Yeah, because obviously we'll go on to Kate, because Kate is slightly a little bit of a later era, but she's still one of the
definitely a
biggest
supermodel.
models in the world. She always will be.
Well, let's go back. What about Twiggy? Do you consider her a supermodel?
Yeah, you didn't work on America's Next Top Model when she was on it, did you?
I was already off that.
What did Tyra used to announce her as? The world's first. No, Janice was the world's first supermodel.
I don't think Janice really was the world's first.
No, I know. It was what Tyra used to say.
Right.
And then I think she used to introduce Twiggy as something first.
Because
supermodel.
she really was, I think, one of the first real supermodels, because you could recognize her face and her name. And that's what made a supermodel.
That's exactly right.
So I really think Twiggy was probably on the edge of being one of the first real supermodels to me. Because that's what I remember her
And she had a single name.
One name.
And I think
and
to some degree, the supermodels all were identified just by their first name as well.
100%.
Back then, you could say Linda, and no one would say Linda who.
Exactly.
It was, you knew who.
Exactly.
Naomi, Linda, Christy, Cindy. And I think that, yeah, in that respect, you're right. That's how you define a supermodel, isn't it? It's like, are they recognizable by their name alone?
Or the face.
The face, yeah.
And that's how you recognize the supermodel.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very sad, because right now, do we even know any models that are...
Well, I wanted to ask you about this. So you're still in the industry.
I have a management company.
You have a management company.
But I work with models.
But you've worked with models for your whole career.
Yes.
Do you think there are supermodels now?
You know what? Every season there's someone breaking new.
Yeah.
But is there a supermodel? No. Yes, the
Who do you like? Who do you like?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I mean, each season there's someone who breaks new. You know, I love the girl right now who's, the beautiful Indian girl for Chanel, but I can't remember her name right now. You see, that's really bad.
So therefore, she's not a supermodel by definition,
right?
Because we don't know the name.
Yeah, but there's so many girls out there that I love.
You just hit the nail on the head.
And yeah, and I think she's stunning. I love how she is, an East Asian girl, and I think she's absolutely beautiful. But what's her name? I don't really remember right now, and that's a bad thing.
I think people now, if you ask them this question, would say Kendall Jenner.
Who?
Yeah.
Please.
So that's a no then.
No.
I'm not really sure on that one either. That was interesting. I do agree that out of all the Kardashians, she was the only one that was going to ever actually be a legitimate model, because she
think she's a legitimate model.
The body and the figure and the height and stuff.
I don't think she's a legitimate model.
Yeah, she doesn't do it for me in the sense of...
She's a beautiful girl.
Yeah.
And she definitely has cashed in and made a ton of money, and was actually coined as the highest paid model, I think, a few seasons ago. Maybe still is. I mean, I think Giselle Bundchen is kind of like the last big supermodel.
I think you're probably right. Giselle was the last big one, and she was huge.
And, and was she beautiful? She was an interesting beauty. She had an insane body, and she knew how to work the clothes. I don't know if the mug was like flawlessly beautiful. Maybe that's why she never got a beauty campaign.
That's
you got to realize those girls
very
that were
masculine
really,
as well. It's a manly vibe.
So the beautiful girl always had the beauty campaigns.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So those are the girls that were really pretty, had those beautiful faces.
Right.
Dowdson had a beautiful face. She did a lot of stuff. So she was
stunning.
Gorgeous.
Absolutely
So
stunning.
those are like the later girls that were like really, really beautiful. But these days, we give them to the people that are on reality television, the ones that are social media stars.
Well, what about the Hadids? Most people would say those are supermodels now.
Well, they were, and people do consider them. But I mean, again, and it's very interesting because I love plastic surgery, but we transformed our faces so dramatically.
Completely.
That then you became a model. Before, the girls all had slight surgeries here and there, very, very little, that really wasn't recognizable, just to like tweak
now we're
things.
really
Now
just
you're gonna change your face. Oh, I'm a supermodel. Oh, okay.
Wow.
That's wild, I feel.
Yeah. I never really, I get that the Hadids are kind of influencers in that sense. Like Bella Hadid definitely is like a fashion influencer for sure. But do I look at them on a runway and think back to the golden era and be like, it's the same? I don't have the same feeling.
No.
And so it's difficult because one of my favorite models back in the day we're talking about was Karen Mulder.
Oh my God, she was amazing.
Now,
beauty.
I think she was the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my entire life. To this day,
She was spectacular.
spectacular.
And it was her and, Claudia Schiffer were very much kind of rivaling each other at one time.
Because
but
they
were
both
so
had that statuesque
beautiful.
blonde beauty.
But I liked Karen Mulder because her nose was a little bit larger, but it was still so feminine. And
I was very young when she was, when she was around, but I used to dream of looking like that. If you'd have asked me then and probably now, who would you like to look like if you could choose?
I love this.
I would choose Karen Mulder.
I love it.
But you know what? But a lot of people wouldn't even, I think you're the only person that would know who I'm talking about.
Insider fashion people or fashionistas definitely know who she is, but you're right. She was a top model, but she really didn't make that supermodel cut for some reason, which is very sad.
Why was that? Because she just disappeared. And I think,
and
I don't want to say
story.
for sure, there was a horrible, I was going to say, there was some tragedy or some horrible story that happened, wasn't there?
Yes.
Okay. Because I remember looking into it because I just loved her so much and I just didn't understand where she went.
It's very sad that people didn't believe her story, but now years later, it's all coming out, unfortunately.
Right. And this sounds ridiculous, but she's still alive, right?
She's still alive.
But,
yes.
Yeah, but there was such controversy about it, and then there was a story. Maybe we should just say what it was just lightly, and then just because people are going to ask me, well, what was the story? What was it?
Well, I shouldn't be laughing. It was very sad. It was the whole Victoria's Secret Epstein thing that was going down.
Right. Okay. And then they didn't believe her.
Right.
But actually now it's come out that she was telling the truth completely, but it ruined her career. And she was, oh God, incredible.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that.
One of my favorites is Karen Mulder and Yasmin Ghouri. Like those two girls were like wow to me. The way Yasmin walked, and Yasmin had this sick body. She had a very interesting.
But wait, Yasmin Ghouri became Yasmin Laban?
No,
different.
Yasmin Ghouri was the one who walked like this incredible, salacious, strong walk. Yasmin Laban, I forget her name before.
I can't remember what she was. She married Simon Laban, of course, from Duran Duran.
That was right before the supermodel era.
That's right.
She
still gets kind of pulled into the supermodel talk, especially being British as well. Like Yasmin Laban, definitely. But yeah, she was another one who just wasn't. Right. And then what about Helena as well?
Helena Christensen also was, she
walked in every runway show.
Too, with the beautiful dark hair and the big blue eyes.
She had the amazing eyebrows.
Right. She was so gorgeous. So she's like that Karen Mulder, like she was at the tip of everything. She was always right there. And she was a top model, but I don't know if she was that super, 4 or 5 girls.
I think Helena walked in more runway shows than anyone else
because
I'm an archival fashion collector, right? And I'm like a fashion historian. So I'm always pouring through old runway shows from the early 2000s and late 90s. Helena was in most of those shows.
Wow.
She really was, more so than any of the others. She walked in everything.
I did not know. Really?
Well, I mean, I don't know for a fact. I can only say from what I've seen. I thought, God, Helena she was always around, there.
But these girls were so spectacularally beautiful.
This is the thing, and I just think, I think you've already hit the nail on the head with this as well. Surgery and artificially changing your face has actually ruined natural beauty. So do we see
what is natural beauty these days?
I don't know.
Gosh, I don't know.
Do we see that many naturally beautiful people on screen anymore? Or do we look at them and go, everyone just looks like this photocopy of each other?
I think it's so accessible, plastic surgery, which is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And you can get great plastic surgery. And now people are going overseas and doing all these other wild things, which I think they should be very careful about.
There was Turkey in England, I think.
Oh, now hearing Asia, they're going to, Korea. It's insane. I remember when I even worked in an agency, it was very funny, and I'm not going to digress. I worked on a men's board, and I remember a young guy would come in like 21. Now you're like 17, you're 18 when you're breaking. You could be. They came right out of college, and we would say, "Come back in 6 months with a body," muscular and very manly. Now they'll say, lose all your weight, lose everything. We don't want any muscle. We want you very thin.
Right.
So it's like, wow. So we went from having these kind of hunky, gorgeous men now, and they were in their mid-20s. Now we have like little kids, like 18, 19, with no bodies.
And that is
and
really
we're selling
interesting.
high-end brands that they can never afford. It's so funny.
I don't get it, because obviously the 90s was heroin chic. And then when the sort of the 80s, early 90s, all the models were pretty healthy looking girls. They were all slender.
I mean, if you
but
look
they
back,
were healthy looking girls.
when you look back, you know, Cindy Crawford had a very sexy body.
Absolutely.
But she was not like some of the girls that we see today on the runway, or even a few seasons ago on the runway.
Right.
You know, so, and even if you look at Helena Christensen, or if you look at any one of the girls' bodies, they all had a sexy, sexy body. When you look at someone like an Ashley Richardson, or became Ashley Montana, or, you know, Elle Macpherson, these girls had insane bodies. You know what I'm trying to say? And Elle Macpherson also was on that verge of, is she a supermodel?
She was kind of the Australian supermodel, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was a girl. She was known as the Body. So,
and and it's so interesting because it was extremely popular to have a sexy, healthy, strong-looking body then. And then we went straight into, with the start of Kate Moss.
Right.
She single-handedly changed pop culture in terms of the standards of beauty.
But you know what? That's her natural body frame. And that's fine. If you try to achieve that unnaturally, it doesn't look good.
That's right. But everyone was starving themselves because they wanted to look like Kate Moss.
Right.
Who wouldn't want to look like that woman? So beautiful.
Well, I can tell you, when she first broke that first season, there was a club, I forget the name of it. Was it called Mars or Quick on the West Side Highway? And it was in a meat packing, and I would go there every Friday night, and she was there.
Really?
And she was spectacular.
She has those wide set eyes.
She had this wide set eyes. She had that long, stringy,
and that little
blonde
flat
hair.
nose, that flat little nose.
And she was very odd, and she was very. She looked like she had her head seemed a little bit big. I remember. It's like, oh, her head looked a little bit bigger than.
Such a small
and
body.
She was just fantastic, you know. And seeing her years later, and seeing how she evolved into this incredibly supermodel. The reason why she's a supermodel was because she also knew how to move, and she had to translate into the camera. Being a model is a job. You just can't stand there and think you're going to look good.
Yeah.
You have to know your proportions. You have to know your angles. You have to know how to illuminate your energy through that camera to get that picture out. And she is one of the best models besides Linda to me.
Yeah.
She really knew how to work
I
the
think
camera.
Kate, I mean, I'm the biggest Kate Moss fan. I could do a whole
Are
podcast.
you?
Yeah, no, I could do a whole
wow.
podcast. I think that her style for me just, if
What do you think about her now?
I think there was a gray area for a while, but then I've seen her recently and thought she's just matured so much. And I think she's just been okay with aging, you know, into some, she wasn't for a long time. She was always, you know, with the younger boys, the Pete Dohertys of the world, which were just insane. She was wild. And I love that about her because she didn't give a fuck. You could just tell she couldn't care less. But I think for a long time, she was still playing, she was still wanting to be this kind of like younger presenting person. And I feel like now, just recently, it's almost like she's just embraced. Because I think she's probably what, 50?
She's like 51.
51, 52, something like that. And I think that she's iconic. I think Kate Moss is utterly iconic.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the most iconic models we've ever had.
Time.
You know,
I don't think there will ever be another Kate Moss because
I think there will be in 20 years.
In 20 years, when it cycles back around, but will there be? Because
I don't know.
We'll ever
right,
think
I know.
about it. Will we
Who
ever
knows?
have a young girl who's 14, 15, who doesn't go straight into plastic surgery and go straight and start changing things? We're in an era now where people are having surgery at 15, 16 years old.
Well, we're going to say, this is what I think. I think in the world, we go so far and go so crazy. And I think there's going to be a backlash, and we're going to go back to ground zero.
I mean,
I think we're going to go back to natural. And I know the world in fashion right now is trying to have more natural beauties.
Yeah.
They don't want any filler. They don't want any like unnatural looking people.
Yeah.
So the agents out there are really trying to bring back the natural beauty.
I love that because I don't really like, I mean, I've done Botox and fillers and stuff. I just hated the look. I want to just be me. I want to be a good version of myself.
Of course.
But I don't want to look like, I'm seeing this standard of beauty right now and I don't want any part of it. Like, do you ever watch Love Island?
I haven't watched it in a few seasons.
So I watch the British one, of course. I don't watch the American one because it's Americans and they're not that fun. British people, sorry. British people are so much more fun in that sense. You know, you can, a bit sarcasm and there's just a silliness. It's just a different level. So I don't watch the American one. But every single girl on all of the different shows of Love Island, they look exactly the same.
I'm going to go Carmen. You remember she was a beautiful model from the 40s, 50s, 60s. And now she's made a big, resurgence 10, 15 years ago. She's gorgeous. And she looks like herself, just aged.
Yes.
She never went through a massive, surgery that looks like an unlikely version of herself.
Yeah, you just don't, changing your face to look completely different. Unless you're butt ugly, of course, in which case you just like,
Well,
there's
you may
nothing
look
else
better
you can
then.
do.
Well, look at the Kardashians. Oops, sorry, did I say that out loud?
Well, look, case in point, if I was going to have surgery, I would want to have their surgeon because they have done incredible work.
I think we can figure out who that is too.
Right.
They're all over social media, and they're inside the clinics and everything
I just
like
think that there's good plastic surgery and there's bad. And a lot of what we're seeing on TV is bad. It's obvious. I will say that every one of those girls has had really good work.
They have had good work. But I think the surgery that is the best surgery is that the ones that you're not even talking about.
No.
Because you don't even know that they've had it.
You don't even know. It's just, but you don't know. Like you couldn't possibly tell.
I'm not going to say much, but there's a lot of the girls that I've worked with back in the day, they all had some form of surgery on their face and you would never know it.
So it was like so subtle.
It was so subtle.
I think a lot of people got their noses done.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's fine. Like, I mean, structural stuff, if it makes it better, that's fine. For me, it's just all these girls having like the overblown fillers
But I think that's leaving. I do think the fillers, I think the lips, the cheeks, the buttocks, everyone is having it all taken out. They're having it all redone. They're all realizing that, oh my God, what was that? I looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was addicted to surgery. So I think, they're coming down to being more realistic. I mean, look at Paulina Peraskova. Gorgeous, one of the most spectacular beauties in the 80s, and she's completely natural. She's getting, I think, married to her fiance.
That's amazing.
And she's had not even an inch of Botox or nothing. And, she's definitely older. I think she could have preserved herself a little bit, but she didn't. And good for her. She's happy with the way she looks. She's a beautiful woman inside and out.
That's
so
it, though, isn't it? It's
happy.
the difference between preservation, which is fine. And
like
I agree with that because I definitely don't want to grow old gracefully. But no, I don't want to be. I think people should preserve themselves. That's my personal opinion. So I think there's a difference between those things that you can do, and then there's what we're seeing young girls doing now. I mean, I remember seeing Sarah Jessica. Of course, I'm a huge Carrie Bradshaw fan, of course. And someone asked her, and she said, "I feel like I missed
her window."
Yeah, she said, "I should have had a facelift at, I think she says 44 or 45," and she said, "And I should have done it, and I didn't do it, and it's too late now because if I do it now,
people will recognize
everyone's going to know, and all they'll ever talk about is my facelift."
Right. Unfortunately, she's correct.
She is
You're
correct.
supposed to do it between like 45 and 50, and those are like the best times to get the results of being the most natural.
Yeah.
And you have it like another one 9 or 10 years later.
Yeah.
And she's right. If she were to have one today, it would be too recognizable. A lot of our young celebrities that we see on the red carpet today, they just had a facelift.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And you can tell, like, wait, why do they look so refreshed? Oh,
yeah. I was looking through a list, and we're not saying any of this.
Names.
I know I'll say what I've read, but we don't know anything.
No.
Like I read like Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt and Emma Stone. These are the ones that I've read have had these and I don't have any judgment about that. I'm like, fair play. If you're, I work on camera every day, and it's soul destroying to see your face and see every imperfection, and it eats away at you because you see stuff that people who don't work on camera don't see. I don't judge people for that. I'm like, have at it.
I believe in plastic surgery, and I think when it's done correctly,
I
it
do
is
too.
the most incredible thing.
But we're just seeing people not
well,
doing
we're
it
seeing the
correctly.
people that not doing it correctly, and those are the ones that were getting all the notices, and you're seeing them all over social media. Like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
It's really sad. And you see, that's where we're going back to these days with our influencers. There's a lot of them that aren't, sometimes natural beauties, and here they are, average, wonderful people. And you're right, all the money is going to them. And when it comes down, like right now in the industry, if you're an extremely classic if you're an extremely classic beauty from that 80s and 90s era, you're not really working.
Right.
Unfortunately, those gorgeous girls that you're like, wow, she's stunning, she's not working. And more of the influencers have not taken over their jobs.
I mean, for God's sake, they're on Broadway. They're in Broadway shows, influencers, and they can't even sing half of them. It's terrible. I mean, that's a whole other topic, but it's relevant because when we're talking about a Kate Moss who was discovered at, I think she was 14. She was walking through JFK Airport, and she was spotted by Storm Models, the Scout Storm, and totally changed everything. I'm just not sure.
Is that, well, you know what? Also, you just said something. The scout found her. Now, these days, the models, reach out to the agencies directly, and the agencies want you to reach out to them. Before, you had scouts, you
Or
had
they go
agents,
on reality TV shows.
or they go on reality TV.
And get
So
spotted.
it's a whole different story. Now, these days, when I started in the business and I would walk up to someone with a business
Would you
card.
scout people?
I would scout, like, what is that? I'm like, no, it's a legitimate agency. Like, they were afraid because they didn't know what it was, back there in the late 80s. A few years later, everyone was like, oh, my son wants to get into modeling, my daughter wants to get into modeling. So they would come to me. But in the beginning, people were like, what? Like, I didn't, what is why are you coming up to me? So they were a little bit more afraid of the industry. Now, everyone wants to be a model. They know how to reach out to the agencies. The agencies list how to get in touch with them. Before to get into the agency, you didn't even know how to contact the agents, or even know what the name of the agencies were.
Otherwise, the door was closed.
Exactly.
It was a rite of passage, wasn't it?
Exactly.
To be scouted.
It was a very select world that you were picked to be a scout. I mean, you could be sitting at a cafe and someone said, oh, you have a great look. Here's my card. I'm at such and such agency.
When I was really young, there was no way I was ever going to be scouted, but I used to dream somebody would scout.
Oh, cute.
Because that's what it was. You're right. It was that amazing idea that someone would just see you and be like, and give you a card.
Right.
Oh, that'd make your whole life, wouldn't it?
But now they just, go on Instagram, they look up the agency has inbox, and boom.
You're right.
That's how it happens.
And then that brings us on to what we should talk about very quickly is America's Next Top Model.
Yes.
Because then, and we haven't even spoken about Tyra yet, so we've got to do Tyra.
Tyra also was a top model.
Right.
And she was incredible. Her walk was amazing.
And Tyra was what sort of era? Like late 90s?
She was late 90s. Let me 80. Yeah, late.
Because AMTM started in what year?
2003. 2003.
Okay, so then Tyra had been famous for quite a while on the runway.
Mm-hmm.
She used to be called, I think they used to call her light bulb head, because she had that phenomenal forehead, which again photographs so beautifully.
So gorgeous.
Having that lovely big forehead.
I loved her when she first started, and she did do a lot of incredible editorial, and she did all the top shows in Europe, and she was like, our first season in Paris, she had like 22 or 21 shows, like the most ever. And she had this incredible walk. And it was very sad at the time that there may have been that rival with Naomi, because at that time, it's going to only be one girl of color in the show, which is so ridiculous,
It's just so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous, and thank God we've broken down those barriers.
Yes.
And we still need to keep breaking down all the different barriers with color and stuff like that. But she really was an amazing model. But she did not get her success as a supermodel or a celebrity model until she did have the Sports Illustrated cover. So that was what really blew it up for her, even though she did have, a cosmetic company. I think she had CoverGirl, and I think she was Victoria's Secret. Did she have the campaign for Victoria's Secret? She may have been a campaign.
She definitely walked as an angel, didn't she?
She had a contract as an angel. She definitely did.
Ah.
And so I don't know if what came first, the cover or the angel contract, but she did have. I mean, look at what she had: an angel contract, Victoria's Secret angel contract. She had 2 covers of Sports Illustrated, one with Valeria, and then one by herself. She had a cosmetic contract. I mean, come on, these are massive, massive jobs. Of course, she was a top model.
Yeah.
And she was an incredible model at the time too.
Yeah. And and it's funny because was there a rivalry? Did you ever remember hearing about
we always heard about it.
Actual things that were happening that were...
Oh, of course. We all heard about it. And we all kind of knew about it. And it was very sad. Rival between Claudia Schiffer and Valeria, because they looked alike.
Really?
And there was a huge scandal there too. So there's always scandals with these girls, they always want to keep their title.
It's a competitive industry. And of course, they want the money. And if this other person threatens to take their covers, then that is something that would cause a rivalry.
Absolutely.
So you have Tyra, who I would argue never quite achieved the fame that Naomi achieved in the supermodel
kind of fame.
sense.
Absolutely.
Different. Mm-hmm. But then Tyra has this great idea, or someone has a great idea, to do a show where you don't have to wait to be scouted. Right. You can apply with a little video. Hi, I'm so-and-so from Kentucky. And then they bring you on. And we've talked about this on our podcast. And if you haven't watched it yet already, we already have an America's Next Top Model episode of the Icons Edit. Watch it, because we talk about all of this. But it was the idea that you said they weren't really high fashion models that were selected for that show.
So that's why I say Tyra really is the one who created influencers.
Right.
Because these girls were average, beautiful girls. They were beautiful, but they weren't on that level of top models or supermodels.
Right.
And there were these beautiful kind of girls that we see right now
Quite
on
commercial.
all commercials. And they're all these influencing style girls that we had that are now the big models of today. So
Yeah.
it's just really wild 20 years later how, you know, those girls from Top Model would be massive stars today.
Yes.
They would be huge.
And
beyond
the
huge.
reality is they basically made no money. Most of
None.
them are probably working in regular
Unfortunately,
jobs.
the show did not at that time allow those girls to be top models, because if you were on the Top Model show, it was a taboo. Oh, you're on that show. We don't want you to be a model. Now, if you're not on a TV show, if you don't have a show,
Then
you
they're
won't be
not gonna look at
successful
you.
and you won't be a model.
See, that's oh my God.
That's so
Yet again,
crazy.
you've just hit it, because that's the issue that we've got is, and this is the difference between the eras that we're talking about.
Correct.
That was a VIP area, no one could get in.
Yeah,
in
everything
the
was
80s and
exclusive.
90s.
You either got into the
exclusive.
club because you were exclusive,
And
you were the right person,
right.
the right image, you knew the right people. You could not pay to have bottle service.
No.
You just could not get in that club.
And now anyone can get in the club
if you can pay for
if
it.
they can leverage the right traction, i.e. social media followers or whatever, and you're in the club.
Exactly.
And for me, it's just it's not. I remember watching an episode of Sex and the City, and Carrie Bradshaw is doing a fashion show, and she's saying, I can't be a model. Like, I'm not a model. And they're like, you're a model. Look, you strut down Fifth Avenue. And she's with this photographer, and she's looking at pictures of the supermodels. And he says, why do you love them so much? And she's like, just love them. You know, like it's...
I do too.
Yeah. And I remember being like, I love them too. Like, I've got models, books in my house full of pictures of them. I've got all old issues of Vogue from that era where I had the front covers of all of them.
That's what, drew me into fashion, was the fantasy of achieving this unbelievably beauty when it came to the clothes, when it came to the imagery, when it came to the girls. I mean, it was the fantasy to see these extraordinary glamazons and the whole fantasy of everything.
Right.
And, when I started to work in this industry, I was so lucky that I had, the first 10 years of having the chance to see the last of that, era.
Yeah.
That it will, and my finances were insane.
Yeah.
The money was amazing, because these were the stars of our era, and if they wanted you, then you can command that rate, so they handpicked their dream teams and stuff like that, and the travel, everything. It was just incredible,
You're so lucky that you
got
to work in that era,
really
because that's
lucky.
something that, I worked in fashion my whole career, but I'll never get to do that, and I would have killed to be in that era.
That is one thing I will take to my grave. I had such an incredible time during that.
Yeah.
And even going to the parties for Francois Nars when he had his makeup line, and every supermodel was at the parties, and it's like, wow, you were like at the Oscars of beauty. And it was like, wow, this was so incredible.
Incredible.
And it's just so funny when I see, when I watch the television and I see red carpets, I'm like, who's that? Like, oh, she's the hottest. I'm like, well, who?
I'm
what?
the same. I could name everyone back then. And to this day, I could tell you so much about all of them, but I don't know anything about. I'm just not that interested. They just haven't captured me.
But going back to Love Island now, they're making huge stars.
Huge.
It's wild, right?
They are. If you get on Love Island,
now
you're pretty much
star.
set for 1 million followers at least, and you're probably at 1 million followers. You're going to be earning a huge amount of money per post, so you are set. And that's fair play, great. I don't knock those people. It's just not the era that I'm so attached to is about.
Right.
It's not this unattainable beauty, but it's a lifestyle that was completely unattainable for your regular girl, who's looking at them, because you can't just be a supermodel. You couldn't then.
No,
you couldn't be photographed and have people running down the street after you.
Right.
Now you can, and it's definitely diluted it.
Again, I'm online. First of all, you go to Soho now, there's lines to get into stores. What's that about?
Yeah, why are people queuing?
I don't understand what that's about. That's ridiculous.
I haven't queued to get into anything since the Take That concert in 1996.
It's like, and so I'm online with one of my girlfriends, and this girl is talking to another girlfriend, and they let them in, and then we're next online. She goes, oh my God, did you know who that was? I go, no, she annoyed the hell out of me. Who was it? She goes, oh, she's one of the biggest social media persons on social media. I'm like,
the fact that she was annoying
oh my God,
seems likely.
Stand her.
That's the thing. I think that there's the personality you see with the supermodel, with Linda, with Cindy, they didn't speak that much.
No, because
but when they spoke,
everyone
was
private, and you
Right.
didn't want to really. It was exclusive.
Mysterious.
It was mysterious, and that's what made it more expensive at the time.
And it also made it more exciting and
More exciting,
intoxicating
right.
because you wanted to be in it and you knew you couldn't get into it.
Correct.
Now it's just
Right. But Cindy took that and spun it, and she did the House of Styles. She got to know her personality, and that's how she became a real household name
she
too.
also did the fitness. Cindy
she-
Crawford's
Ragu.
fitness is how she made all of her
Right.
money.
Was it his name was Ragu or something like that? He had like a funny name like that.
He did, the
And-
trainer, yeah. And she did and that just took over, and she made
And she did her own.
fortune.
And she also did her own calendars, and she did it because she didn't do Sportswear Illustrated because she had a fight with the editor there.
Oh,
So
did
yeah,
she?
yeah.
So that's why she never did it.
She never did it.
Cindy Crawford made her money. This is where she's known as being the most business orientated of all of the
extremely
models,
business-oriented.
because she parlayed it into an
Right.
actual. I mean, look, hey, I'm gorgeous. Why
Right.
don't I show you how to look gorgeous like me?
Exactly.
Even though no bugger was ever going to look anything like she was.
Well, she
But
was
we all
copying
bought the video because we're
Right.
like, I might be
wanna
able to
look-
look like her.
Right.
That's just genetics, baby.
Yes.
But I want to talk about the designers who created the supermodel for so the phenomenon of supermodels was created by the idea that in that era, a bunch of designers started using only the same
Gianni Versace
women.
started that.
Gianni Versace.
Yes, he
Now,
started
is
that
that
trend.
not, and I will put a picture here, the most iconic image of this era is the runway show with Gianni walking down.
With his,
You've got
the three girls, I think it was.
Tatiana is not in it.
No,
It's
it was-
Naomi,
it was-
Cindy, Linda, and Christy.
Okay.
And they're all wearing the
Versace.
baby doll dresses, Versace, and
Right.
they're walking all with their arms around
Right.
each other, laughing down the runway. That is the one image that
Well,
I
that-
think exemplified the era.
Well, he was the first designer to take those editorial girls and put them onto the runway. Because back in the day, you were either a editorial girl and campaign girl, and you really didn't do the runway.
Yeah.
You had Diane DeWitt, you had Dalma, you had other girls that were doing the runway. They were a little bit before that, though. But those were like runway girls that never did the editorials and campaigns. And then you had catalog girls that nobody knew who they were.
Right.
No one knew their names. They were absolutely stunning, and they were making ridiculous money, but nobody ever knew them.
Yeah.
And you never crossed over. Then Versace took those editorial girls from the magazine and campaign and said, I want them on my runway.
They became his muses.
They were his muses. And then each designer started to follow that trend. And
Yeah,
that's what
because
happened.
Lagerfeld did it,
With Claudia.
Moschino did it,
Yep.
Alaya with Naomi, of
With Naomi, of
course,
course, her daddy.
Saint Laurent.
Yes.
But Gianni will always be
He's
the
the star. He
person
was
that we
just-
remember. He created
Absolutely.
them.
He started that whole trend.
Yeah, he took those girls and he said, I just want to dress them.
Right.
Those are the women I'm dressing.
Right. And those shows were insane.
Phenomenal.
I mean, you had Orbe doing the hair, you had Kevin Aquine doing the makeup. I mean,
Kevin.
that really was the epitome of fashion.
Absolutely.
It was insane.
Glamour as well.
Glamour
we
beyond.
are in an era of glamour now, but not in the same way that was glamour.
It's totally different.
There was something about them, and they're having fun with it,
Oh,
and
it was
they're
so
on top of
beautiful.
the world because
Oh,
they're earning
God,
fortune.
yeah.
They're
Yeah,
the
they
most coveted women in the world.
Unbelievable.
They're on the front cover of every magazine. Every designer,
every rock
wants
star
them.
wants to date them. There was every top celebrity. They were the it girls of the time.
Do you think that that we'll ever see that again, where designers design a collection around muses as opposed to?
They all say they do. They say they do.
But
So I don't know.
we're not seeing it anymore,
You
are
know?
we? That idea that they're
Right.
so inspired by a woman
Right.
that they create this insane collection with her in mind. Do we
Again,
have
like I
that
say,
now?
they say they do, but I really think it's such a changed world. There's not that one iconic, like Valentino, like I said, or Chanel. They all had their Versace. They all had their one kind of iconic looking girl. I think these days it's so vast that there really just can't be one.
Yeah.
So I think there's an ideal of someone, but we don't really know who that is.
Right.
Like we used to before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I don't see it happening again. And one of the things I also wanted to talk about was the George Michael Freedom 90 video.
What an incredible
I'm a big
video.
George Michael fan
Yeah.
too. So
I mean, who wasn't?
well, I don't know. I say to
miss
people
him
now,
so
they're like,
bad.
I miss him so bad.
Oh my God,
People
he's
say,
one of my
and
favorites.
you know what really fucking annoys me about
What?
this? When you say you love George Michael and people are like, oh, did he do that thing in the bathroom in LA?
Yeah, everyone,
Who gives a fuck? He's a
cares?
genius.
Yeah.
His music was will last forever.
Yeah.
He's an enduring legacy.
He was
talented,
such a talent. The
and
vocals,
so pretty.
and
So pretty.
such a handsome guy. The vocals, the writing, the production. he was a true artist.
Oh, his
a
songs
true
are
artist.
forever.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
those songs, Freedom. No, it's not Freedom. One of the songs just turned 30 years old.
Really?
Yeah, and I forget which one.
well,
It was
Freedom
amazing.
90, I think a lot of people remember is his most famous song purely because of the video.
Every
So
Supermodel.
he was at the height of his success, and he decided he didn't want to be in the video at all.
No.
Didn't want to feature in it. Not like Faith, where he's there with his guitar and my favorite T-shirt. It's got George Michael
Yes.
in that video. He said, I want these top 5 models in the world. So it was the top 4 plus Tatiana Petites. Were in the video, and it's the most beautiful, moody, and they're all singing, they're lip syncing the song. And
they were so nervous because a lot of them were afraid.
well, don't forget, they're not actors, are they?
Right. No,
They're
they weren't.
models. But what you get is this incredible moment where we get to see an era encapsulated into a 3-minute song on tape forever.
And it is one of the most beautiful. And then he did Too Funky.
Yes.
And then he also used all these incredible supermodels too, which was amazing on the runway.
Freedom 90 was, there's no other music video that could ever boast that kind of, yes, loads of famous people have been in. Cindy Crawford was in Bon Jovi's,
was she?
yeah, one of his,
Oh,
I
I
think
didn't know
she was in, they did it, but never all of them.
Not all of them.
The biggest models of the time.
A handful of the best were in that video.
What
a gorgeous video.
It's beautiful.
And what a great song.
Are we even getting music videos like that anymore?
No, I don't think so.
I'm obsessed with music videos as a genre.
They are doing music videos, but there's no, MTV doesn't do music videos anymore. It went off like a few months back or last year.
That's the thing, because don't forget, we were also in the MTV era. Now, we hadn't fully fledged into it as much as the 2000s, but we were definitely in it, which is one of the things that contributed to the success of the supermodels as well, is this celebrity culture was coming, but it was more like up here celebrities as opposed to any old.
Right. Music breaks differently. If you didn't have a hot video, your music wasn't going to be a #1 song.
Right.
Now you don't need to have
Now
that.
they don't even do, I'm so bored. I can think of so many music videos from that era that I'm just obsessed with forever, and I loved watching them, and they told me a story.
Oh yeah.
I don't see that anymore, and I don't even think people watch music videos anyway.
I don't
VH1
think
isn't
so.
doing the thing, and MTV isn't doing the thing. So where do we watch the music video?
YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube.
I've been in a few music videos.
You have?
As an actor,
Which
yeah.
one?
In England for different bands and stuff. And it was like, for me, a highlight of my career, because I love music videos.
Yeah.
And so to be in a video and know that I was acting on set and there's no music, that's what's interesting, right? There's no music. You're acting the scene, then they put the music in, and then you see the final product and you're like,
wow.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, I love it. I think music videos, and that's why the George Michael and the Supermodels was such an amazing fusion.
And I'm just changing this up. There was a VH1 Fashion Awards, and remember they used to give away iconic, best model of the year, up and coming model, iconic. We don't have any of those kind of awards anymore for our models. It's so sad.
That's right. There is no.
Models.com is, they kind of do something like that. But we had these were big award shows that were like on television for the models. We don't have that anymore.
You're right about the male models though, because it just reminded me of that era was like Marky Mark.
Mark was in the 90s, but at the same time there were top supermodels going on. Marcus Schenkenberg was breaking out that time and stuff like that.
They were, so the standards for male beauty in that were ripped, amazing, muscular,
very muscular
and men that you wanted to fuck.
Well, women wanted to fuck. They were like hot men.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I want to see him in his boxers and be like, what's inside the boxers?
Well, sometimes you saw it in the
I've got to be honest, I don't want to know what's inside any of their boxers now. They all look like little boys. They're skinny and they're like small and people. I like a man's man. And
Well, they countered the gorgeous Glamazon girls. Like, who could pick up Cindy? Who could pick up Claudia Schiffer? Who could pick up Naomi?
See, now that's
exactly.
You're so right.
You could have some skinny little boy. You had to have a man who looked her age or a tiny bit older, but they were men that had muscles that can put Cindy on her shoulder.
Sex sells. Yes. Where have we missed that point, really?
Yes, there you go. Where has it gone to that? You see this incredible young man, and he's in a $8,000 Tom Ford suit. You're 20 years old and you're super thin, which is not a problem being super thin, but you really are not going to buy that suit.
No.
You know what I'm trying to say?
No.
You don't look like you can even afford that suit. So what's going on here?
And this is the thing. If you're never going to be a supermodel unless you have the whole world wanting to sleep with you or wanting to be you. Okay, so
desire you to some extent.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So I want to look at. So I love looking at beautiful people.
Exactly.
I really do. I'm not a person who's insecure in themselves. So I actually love to look upon beautiful people.
That's what
and be like,
in this industry.
Whereas a lot of people are really intimidated by that because it makes them feel inadequate. Yeah. I think you and I are really similar in that respect. We love beautiful things.
The more exotically beautiful. I mean, you're my girlfriend.
Right. Oh.
You know.
It too, but you know, it's that idea that I need to want to be you, or I want to be with you.
Exactly.
Well, I don't want to be any of the supermodel women now, and I don't want to fuck any of the supermodel guys now. So we've missed the point.
Yeah, I think it's going to come back. I think we're going to try to bring back the 90s in the next season or two, and I really hope we do.
I would love to see that.
Because that will be so incredibly iconic. Because I really miss that extra special beauty that is unattainable to some, and that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It isn't.
I just don't think in this world, and I've always believed this, is not everybody can do everything, and the one thing that was always exclusive is being a supermodel. Because unless you were a certain height, I mean, Kate Moss did cheat that a little bit, which was incredible.
Always that,
she was under the height requirement.
That breaks the grounds.
Yeah.
But she had so many interesting things about her to break those grounds that it was okay.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
That's the thing. It's like, I liked that it was not attainable because it would make me jealous. Yeah, I'd sit at runway shows and wish I was one of them. But I also had the good sense to know that could never be me. Now, I modeled. I knew I was never going to walk a runway. I'm 5'4", like on a good day with a heel. You know what I mean? Like it's, and I accepted that, and it made me love them even more because it made me think.
But it's also like, now we're switching the subject, like you can go to Fashion Week now in New York and you can pay to get a seat in a show. Before that was such an exclusive, you could not get the ticket. You had to be in the industry. You were either a buyer or you were either a client or you were a stylist or you were an industry tastemaker. But now you can buy a seat to watch a fashion show. Like our privacy of our clubs have just completely
I yearn for a simpler time because it was so much more glamorous and it was so much more exclusive. And I'm done with the access, actually, which is stupid because
you don't want free public access anymore.
Well, I mean, I like the fact that, I go to a lot of events and stuff, and maybe I probably wouldn't have back then because being known on social media wouldn't have got you through the door because no one would be like, what?
Well, then probably not. But
you know what I mean? So I do. It's a double-edged sword. I don't want to say that I don't appreciate that because I definitely appreciate the doors it opens for me. But I still prefer that era. I still want to get into the unachievable thing.
It's the old school Hollywood, machinery of things that, we're missing. And we don't really have that anymore. But hopefully life will change and come to a more simpler time like we had before. And hopefully our supermodels and everything else will, come rushing back to us in a different way.
I hope so, because, we're cycling through eras and things aren't necessarily changing for the better. And, I think some things have progressed, but there's a lot of stuff that's gone backwards for me. And, and I do think it's great that we celebrate diversity more now than we did before. And that's definitely, but there's also, it just always feels so forced, you know what I mean? And I don't actually think, we've talked about plus size before and stuff. I think that they weren't trying to say they didn't want plus size people. They just had a standard for what models were in that moment, which was this height requirement, this weight requirement.
We always had plus size models.
Yeah.
I mean, Kate Dillon was one of the most beautiful, and she was a friend of mine, and she was a plus size model. And we've always had them. They definitely have changed since then. And this plus size has definitely grown into a larger size and stuff like that, which is fine. But I still think we have standards of what beauty is and whatever that is.
Do you think Ashley Graham is a supermodel?
Well, she is a supermodel, and she has, become a very big name. She's not my favorite kind of model.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Kate Dillon, I think that beauty was a little bit more of what a model is for me, for a plus size model.
So who was, to finish, your favorite model of all time?
Oh gosh, my favorite beauty is very, very hard.
That's hard to answer.
I mean, runway is going to be Oh my gosh, Yasmin, because
Yeah.
that walk is insane. Facially, I think it's Christy Turlington.
Yeah.
But my overall favorite model during that era is going to be probably Cindy Crawford.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I'd probably choose Kate as my enduring, but I think she's my style icon. She's my muse, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's hard because I'm separating her from her actual, I don't actually think she was stunning, but I liked her still photographs more than her runway presence. I think runway, it has to be, for me, Christy, always, and Karen.
Yeah.
Karen Mulder, because she was the one as a young girl, I just sat watching her on the runway being like, I wish I looked like that.
Well, now you can, because you are a supermodel.
They can't make me 6 foot tall though, no.
You don't have to be 6 foot tall these days.
But that's what it's crazy. I think that, you know what, one of the things that's come out from us talking on this podcast is that, you know, we yearn for a time that was very different.
Yes.
And they came from a time that is more iconic than any other era, you know, like the late 90s into the early 2000s. It's the dream era for TV, for film, for fashion. I mean, think about Galliano at Dior, Tom Ford at Gucci.
Remember the show called Paper Dolls?
Yes.
That's such a great show.
I love the Paper Dolls.
That was such a good show.
Yeah.
You should go watch it again.
I do. I watch them on repeat. I just think that 1999, Stella McCartney at Chloe was also
very genius.
Yeah. 99 through to 2003, 2004, there was just this incredible selection of runway shows that were just, I don't think of
course, all of those.
Well, we can't forget Alexander McQueen, who was
genius.
utter genius. I have to do a podcast on Lee, because Lee McQueen was, and the fact that he left us so soon is just so sad, because he was incredible.
Yes.
Incredible. You know, it's an era, and we can't ever go back, because we can never, it's lightning in a bottle. It's just this bunch of beautiful women, this bunch of incredible designers, the glamour, the exclusivity that just created this.
Yes.
And so we sit here and we're talking about it. We're like, oh.
I know, because there's hardly any new designers that are breaking these days.
I know.
But that's another whole story.
It is another whole story. But I think we did a good subject. I think we did a good
try to wrap it up as close as possible.
We can talk about this. Me and you could talk about this all day long.
3 days
because
long.
This is a subject.
40s, 50s, or 60s, or 70s models. We were trying to stuck in that.
We were trying to keep it tight. And we'll finish this and we'll say, we forgot that. We forgot that. Because it's a huge subject, but it's a really important, influential subject, because it defined beauty standards in an era. And I think we've never gone back quite to that level ever again.
We haven't, but we can only inspire to try.
That's right. I love that. We'll finish on that. That's perfect. Well, thank you to my incredible guest, Nola. As always, I always love having you here. Yeah, I can talk to you all day long.
All day.
And join me again, because next time I'm sure we'll be talking about something equally iconic. Yay.
Awesome.